Right, good evening everyone, or whenever you're watching this. I always say that, it could be morning, could be afternoon. Welcome to the Q&A. I have my laptop in front of me, don't know how well we can see this. I've got 38 questions. So the time right now is 28 minutes past 9. I'm usually sleeping in 2 minutes. So we'll see how long this takes me. If I get like half an hour in and I'm still not through all the questions, then I'll probably end it there. But I think that should time well to be 20 minutes, half an hour. We shall see, I'll get no clue. But yeah, questions wise, I put up a question box on my Instagram. So if you follow me on here and don't follow me on Instagram, head over there and keep an eye out if you have any questions for future Q&As. But yeah, the basis of this is pretty much just like training, nutrition, competing, coaching, off-season prep. There's questions about pretty much everything and whether I would beat a bear in a fight, which I most definitely would. But yeah, let's get cracking into it. Question number one: how many meals before I train do I have, and how long between my pre-workout meal and starting to train itself? So I will have 2 meals before training. So I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, have my first meal around 7:30, 8ish, have my second meal around 11 o'clock, and then train at about 12 o'clock. So when I train upper body based kind of sessions, well, that being pull, upper, and push, I'll have 45 minutes to an hour between eating the meal and like starting my first exercise. Whereas with legs, it'll be anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half, because I know that if I pummel myself with legs, I will make myself sick. So yeah, a little bit extra time between leg training compared to the upper training. Everything else, God, this is a long one. Favorite movement for each body part, and then the guy said each specific one: medial delt, bicep, so on and so forth. So we'll start from the bottom up. So calves, standing calf raise, seated calf raise. I don't really have a preference. Let's go quads. I'd take a hack squat. At the moment, it's a leg press because my knees and my quads are injured, so I can't do a squatting pattern. But overall, hack squat. Hamstrings, some form of pin loaded seated hamstring curl. The hammer strength one that's in my home gym, it's pretty rubbish, but the one that I train at on a Friday has the Cybex Eagle one. It's really, really nice. So seated hamstring curl for hamstrings. For glutes, some form of hip thrust, ideally like a machine plate loaded or pin loaded one. Quite enjoying the booty builder one just now. I used to do the plate loaded one, do the pin loaded one. They're both pretty solid. Everything else, adductors wise, funnily enough, doing an adductor machine, that's going to be your best bet. I think that covers it for legs. I'm going to double check this is still recording as well, because I've got so much paranoia that I'm going to record like half an hour here and it's not even going. So let me double check. We're all good. We are all good. Now, on to the rest of the body. So let's go abs, some form of machine ab crunch. I do quite like a cable one, but the hammer strength ab crunch and the Cybex one where your hands are out in front of your body are both really, really nice. Obliques, I ain't training my obliques. No, I'm not doing that. Let's go erectors, that's quite low down. Some form of hinge for myself just now, just a conventional deadlift, but you can do a stiff leg deadlift as well. Everything else, I should have planned out the actual upper body, or the parts of the body itself. Let's go chest, hammer strength incline press, always hits the spot. Back, parts of the back. Your lats, I'm going to go with a single arm cable lat pull down. For upper back, I'm going to go with the hammer strength low row. For, let's say, rear delts, I will go with a reverse pec deck. For the other parts of the delt, just side delt, pin loaded lateral raise, a seated one preferably. Front delt, I don't train front delts, but let's say a shoulder press, I don't train them directly, but you're going to get a good bit of anterior delt within your shoulder press itself. Biceps, a single arm preacher curl in machine 1. Triceps, a long rope tricep extension, simple, easy. However, you could also take something as like a dip when my chest isn't a bit gubbed, which it is just now. I really do like a dip for growing the old triceps itself. I think that's about everything. I've definitely missed out muscle groups, but again, that's a very long question. We're 2 questions in, I've been here for like 5 minutes, I reckon, already. But how many meals per day do I have? I have 4 meals per day. You can go 4 or 5, some people do 6. I ain't got time for that. I'd struggle with 5 as well, just on a current routine in general with workload as well. But 4 to 5 meals per day, making sure that you've got no more than 4 hours between each meal ideally, because you want to make sure that you're continuously spiking muscle protein synthesis. That is spiked by having at least, let's say, bare minimum 25 grams of highly bioavailable protein, which is going to be a complete protein source such as chicken breast, eggs, steak, whey protein powder. Yes, it's a real protein source. Eddie Abu, I hate you. I don't actually. But yeah, whey protein is absolutely fine. But making sure that every 4 hours or so you consistently get an MPS spike, muscle protein synthesis, because if not, you go into a state of muscle protein breakdown and you're pretty much just withering away over time. So that's why it'll be never any less than 4 meals. But for just now, 4 meals per day. Tips for a successful off-season: gaining muscle but not too much fat, is what the person said. So you've kind of hit the nail on the head with the kind of last part there, gaining muscle but not too much fat. Do not focus on body weight, focus on training performance. So you can still grow a lot of muscle while still keeping body weight in a relatively similar position. With a lot of people, they'll do like a pre-prep diet and then they'll have like a good few months where they're looking to hold very good condition, not put on too much weight, but still take massive strides forward with actual growth itself. And again, you don't need to be pushing body weight really hard. If there's any young guys out there watching this, please stop shooting for like 1 kg rate of gain per week. It's pointless. You're just going to get fat very quickly and you're not going to be able to actually stay within that surplus for a prolonged period of time. If you are somewhat new to training, even within your first 5 years or so, you want to spend as much time in a surplus as possible. So that's like years at a time in a surplus. It's also why I built the muscle that I had when I dieted, when I prepped, because when I trained for the first 3.5, 4 years before I prepped, there was no dieting in there. It was just gaining and just trying to get as strong as possible and consistently staying in a period of higher foods, and that's a little bit of a surplus. So yeah, with a successful off season, don't look for too much gait gains. God, weight gains is the words that I was looking for. I usually look for around 1 to 1.5% of the client's body weight per month, and that usually is going to fall for like a normal, say 70, 80, 90 kg person. Anywhere around like 1 kg per month is going to be pretty solid. If you're really new to training, kind of got those newbie gains, you can look somewhere between 1 to 2 kg per month, but I wouldn't look to go any faster than that. Take your time, actually focus on training performance. Drive up your numbers every week and don't focus too much on the scale weight itself. Spend prolonged period of time in that off season. Don't be like, yeah, I'm going to have a 3-month off season. It's going to do nothing. Spend at least 9 months in that position. Next question, tips for people who work a 9 to 5. I would prep your meal. So prep your pre-workout meal and bring that into work with you so you can have it as you finish the shift. By the time you get home, if you want to go for a shower before you train, or you can just go out for a short walk to make sure that the meal is digested, then by the time you travel to the gym, so on and so forth, you're probably looking at, again, 45 minutes plus by the time you've ate the meal to when you start your first exercise. So doing that is going to save you a lot of time instead of coming home, getting back home at 5:30, then cooking the meal, like preparing the meal, eating the meal, waiting for it to digest for another hour. You're not going to get training until like 7:30. So yeah, prep that pre-workout meal along with you, and then also just prep your meals in general to bring into work so you're not sitting eating like shitty meal deals, so on and so forth. Nail down your nutrition, train hard, and don't moan and sulk about the fact that you might be training a little bit later on in the year. You might feel a little bit kind of fatigued. Crack on with it. What to have intra-workout? So intra-workout being in your big bottle of water during your session. So I would have, first of all, some form of carbohydrate powder. So select-dextrin is what I like to use. So highly branched select-dextrin carbohydrates, literally just carbohydrates in a powdered form. You also get maltodextrin, but it doesn't sit quite as well within your stomach, and it's quite like a bit more goopy and syrupy. It's not as enjoyable. Not that the select-dextrin carbs are majorly enjoyable, but I think the maltodextrin is a lot more noticeable. Make sure you have at least a litre of water, so don't have like a shaker with like 500, 750 ml in it, because it is going to be very goopy when you put the carbs in it. Make sure there's a lot of water to pretty much dilute it, also so that you drink a lot of water during the session. I would have a couple grains of pink Himalayan salt in there as well to keep electrolyte levels pretty balanced, and also, again, on that same kind of line, some form of hydration formula / supplement. So you've got Hydroflow by Conte, or you've got Loaded H2O by CMP, you've got just Hydration by Naughty Boy. There's plenty and plenty of ones out there, so I would have that. If you want it all in the winner, oh my god, shameless plug right here, Carb Drive by Conte Sports. They sell it on Ped'S Nutrition, code Josh10. That has carbohydrates in it, select-dextrin carbs. I think it's like, I can't remember, it's slightly different, but it's in the same kind of quality of it. Cluster dextrin, I think it is. And then they have a hydration formula in that, which is the same hydration formula as HydroFlow. Then it also has glycersize in it, which helps improve blood flow and get a better pump. So it's literally like the perfect intra, all in the one. Also, you can have EAs if you'd like to kind of spike muscle protein synthesis a little bit during the session, and it's nice and easily digestible if you've got a really long period of time between eating your pre-workout meal and post-workout meal due to breaks in work and when you can train, so on and so forth. Could be a good idea to have the EA in there, around 10 grams of protein or so. From that, God, we're only 7 in. How to decide what shows to do? So again, a very, very vague question. Is more so, have you spent the time gaining, like in terms of what shows to do, like what year to compete, like if you're younger, if you've spent time gaining, if you've earned the right to compete, if you're really in love with the process and not just because you want to look good or get some attention online or get some Instagram followers, or you think Kevin Levrone looked cool when he competed, so you're just going to do that as well. You're not going to look like them. Make sure that you spend time like actually building muscle. If you've trained for less than 2 years, don't even think about competing at all. Make sure you nail down the basics first. You train hard quickly, so get it down fast. Fucking train really hard, and then you can worry about everything else. Make sure you spend time doing that. In terms of how to decide what shows to do once you're actually in the season, it depends what your main goals are. If you want to go for, like, say, a British final, they're going to be towards the latter end of the year in that kind of September, October time. So maybe do like one of your kind of introduction shows in September, the Heart of England and the UK DFPA. I know the person that's asked this though competes out in America through OCB, I think it's called. OBC, OCB, I'm not too sure because I'm not too familiar with it out there. But again, it just depends where your goals align. If you want to go for finals, if you want to go for pro cards, so on and so forth, there's only certain shows you can do. So just pick what aligns well with you. If you've got uni, if you've got work where you've got certain periods are busier throughout the year, just avoid them to make sure that your stress is as low as possible. The rest of the questions: what do I hope my stage weight will be the next time I compete? Honestly, not too fussed about it and couldn't really tell you, to be honest. I, at my lowest, was 64 kg in that 2023 season. I'd like to think I'll be a few kg heavier because I'll have a good bit more muscle on me. Within the past 3 to 4 months of this gaining phase, where I've been illness free, I've made more progress arguably than the first like 2 or 3 years of actual gaining. Like from the visual standpoint, I look like a complete different human being. And for people that have seen me when I was competing in 2023 and they've seen me now from down in England when I've posed in front of them, they're like, that's a different human being. So I really do think I'll be looking like a different human being on stage. I'm 3-4 kg heavier than I've ever been in my entire life right now, and still have lines through the side of my glute when I hit a side shot, tricep feathering, still got a detailed midsection ish, and overall just really happy with the position that I'm in. I want to push the 90 kg plus. I think it's 91 to 92 kg, which is 200 pounds. I think that's a really cool milestone to have. I've never in my life been any heavier than 75 kg before prep started, so yeah, I think that would be really, really cool. But in terms of stage weight, not too fussed. If I was over 70 kg and absolutely peeled, that'd be wild. But it depends how much muscle I put on. I couldn't tell you the exact amount, as long as I am just significantly better, then I'm happy. Top 3 gyms I have trained at. I'm going to say Ultraflex Rotherham was just a really cool experience to see everyone there. In Scotland, there's 2 really good gyms right now, which is Flex Unit and JP's, which I don't get to go to too often because they're not quite as close as the other gyms, especially Flex Unit. So that's a really, really good gym, possibly one of the best ones I've trained at. JP's has a really cool environment, and I really do like that one. Other gyms, Dragon's Lair out in Las Vegas, that's obviously a really cool one. That is Flex Lewis's gym, really cool to meet him. Yeah, I'll go with a Scottish one, just go with Flex Unit, and JP's is soon to be up there because it's got a very, very good list of equipment that's just about to come in. But that's 10 questions done, and I'm running out of storage on my phone, so another double check of whether we are still recording or not. We're spot on, and a quick water break. Make sure you get your water in. Oh, now this ties in nicely as well with these big boys here, because someone asked what are those glasses for. At the time I put the question box up, I was wearing them. So these are blue light blockers. They block the blue light. Again, funnily enough, I'm great at these explanations right now, but blue light stops you from being able to switch to the parasympathetic state within your brain, which is what tells you to chill the fuck out and being able to actually go to sleep and be able to switch off and wind down. So The blue light blockers help with that. Blue light comes from screens, so when you're looking at a screen, when I'm looking at that laptop screen, it emits blue light, so these stop that, therefore helps you get to bed a little bit easier, helps you get to sleep a little easier, and everything just feels a little bit warmer and nicer. It's not quite as like everything's so bright, so again, helps you get to sleep. And we've got the 4 caps, oh god, I'm dropping everything here, 4 caps of unwind. I don't think you can see that, so yeah, I'm going to gub these just now, 10 questions in, and we'll see how far we can get. I need to ramp up the pace here. So, how many monsters a day are acceptable, and why is it 2 to 3? So this is from my client, Harry Clark, who has a raging caffeine addiction. He just loves a good monster or a rain or whatever it is. Realistically, 1 monster a day is that is enough. That's the most I would go. I haven't had a monster in 3-4 months now. I had one on the drive back up from England a week and a half ago, but I'd just trained legs and I had a 7-hour drive ahead of me, and I felt like I was falling asleep at the steering wheel, so that was justified. But in normal circumstances, I've not had a monster in months. Saves so much money. Realistically, I don't need it now, the caffeine, and no one really necessarily does if they're sleeping well, if they're managing the stress well, and they're not in a prep or in a diet or tail end of a diet. No one needs caffeine, so I feel like it's a bit of a waste. Monsters, the only reason that I more so drank them was just because they do taste really nice. I don't ever really need that caffeine. I do have 100 milligrams of caffeine through a stim-based pre-workout at the moment, just to give myself a teeny bit more of a kick. Feel a little bit more confident going into sessions with it, but I more so have a non-stim as my pre-workout with a nootropic in it to help with the pump and everything. I more prefer that side of things. But caffeine, realistically, I'd be looking at 200 milligrams a day at the most for most people, so they don't end up gubbing their sleep quality and the quantity of it as well. Next one, how to go about starting coaching / learning the tools to be a great coach. We've got a long one here again. Not necessarily. All I can just say is employ me as a coach, or get me as a coach, and then that'll do. That's absolutely fine. Then you're a very good coach yourself. But no, with coaching, literally, funnily enough, one of the best things is getting a good coach, because you learn how coaching should work through them. So what the service should be like, how the response time should be, how they communicate with you, what the check-ins are like, how long are the check-ins, what's the training program like, how is it laid out, what are the sheets, what's the inquiry form like, that full inquiry process, the consultation, the video that you get back, you understand how it works from that standpoint. So that's obviously massively valuable. You don't need to have some form of level 2, level 3 PT course. A lot of people think that you need to, but you don't. That's only going to allow you to PT in person. If you want to do online coaching, you don't need any qualifications, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because a lot of people end up just starting online coaching when they get into shape for summer, and it's oh god, just shut up. You don't know anything about anything. What I would say, the person that's asked this, I know is investing into them very well right now, because I coach him. Again, that's why he's going to be a great coach. But no, I know that he's putting in a lot of effort, and he's walking the walk right now, and has been for months, and he just needs to show that on social media a little bit more, and show his personality more. So that's a massive thing. I find myself telling people over and over and over again when they ask me this question. They won't have anything on their stories in terms of them actually speaking to the camera, showing their personality. It's just a training clip here and there, and then they'll maybe post their training on the grid, and that's it. Show your personality, especially if you're a young coach. Think about this. If you're a young coach who's got very minimal results and doesn't have much credibility, maybe doesn't have a crazy physique either, why on earth would anyone choose you over someone who's more established and has more results and all this stuff? There's no reason apart from your personality. How you come across on social media, if people gel with you, like you, find you a little bit funny, but also know that again, you crack on, you get good work done, you show your training clips that it's extremely intense, you put your meals up pretty much on a daily basis, you show that you still do things, and people are like, oh, I want to be like that, I want to have that consistency, and I want to get the results that he's getting, because you want to show the transformation between yourself, where you were before, where you are now. Let people follow along with your journey, whether you're in a gain phase, dieting phase, give weekly updates so people can kind of follow along and be more invested in you. The more invested they are into you, the more they will invest into you. And funnily enough, that's a great saying that I've just made that up on the spot. But pretty much people will come to you more if you show your personality off better, and it's a massive thing that helped with my coaching too. So that's probably the main thing to help improve as a coach, and obviously just learning, asking your own coach questions, And getting all the form feedback from them and learning more about your training is obviously going to massively help. Best pre-stage meal, anabolic pancakes and jam and almonds. That's it. That's what I had every single time last year. A full pack of pancakes, 50 grams of jam, and 20 grams of almonds. It came to 100 to 125 grams of carbs, depending on how kind of heavily we were pushing it on that show. Then it would be like 30 grams of protein. I'd have some whey paste along with it as well. I know someone's going to get a crack out of that. Whey paste. Supposedly I say it funny. Reese and Finn made this whole thing about it when I just called it whey paste. Let's just say it normally. It's just a Scottish accent. 30 grams of protein just to keep things ticking over. Nothing too much because it's kind of harder to digest. And 125 carb and about 20 grams of fat to help actually absorb those carbohydrates and put them to use and have them last a little bit longer on stage. So that's what I had. However, the best pre-stage meal is the one that digests best with you, that you enjoy the most, and you find easy to eat, and is going to be nice and low volume. Don't have some big massive salad concoction pre-stage because it's just going to fill your stomach up. Instead, you want to look nice and dry, have a relatively empty stomach, but still be getting a good amount of carbs in so that you can actually pump up a little bit better. Make sure that you're having a good amount of water as well. A lot of people will cut water on a show day. Like, you're not going to be able to get a pump if you're not drinking any water. You're not going to have anything to move the carbohydrates about. Doesn't mean that you go and just slam water. Drink to thirst, drink a little bit, keep it relatively consistent, but you still want to be somewhat hydrated so you can, again, get a pump. Number 14, complex carbs versus simple carbs, and why I have complex carbs pre-workout. So pretty much slow digesting and fast digesting carbohydrates. You want to have slower digesting carbohydrates pre-workout so they last longer. It's as simple as that. So during the session, if you were to eat some really fast digesting sugary carbohydrates, by the time you get halfway through, you've pretty much burned through them already because they're really, really fast acting. You want them to pretty much be coming into your system a little bit slower, so they can last for longer. Also why I recommend having a little bit more fats pre-workout compared to post-workout. Pre-workout, if you're having more fats, it's filling up your intramuscular triglycerides, therefore you're actually slowing down the absorption of those carbohydrates and they last for longer. So 15 to 20 grams of fat is usually what I recommend pre-workout, whereas post-workout, literally as low as possible, ideally like sub 5 grams of fat, so that you can get those carbohydrates in as quickly as possible, because that's what you want post-workout. Number 15, favourite brand and flavour of hydration formula. So I could have a new goat here, the Naughty Boy Ultra Energy hydration formula. Really, really, really nice. It tastes like I don't know if you ever had it, like the bottles of Boost you used to get when you were a kid, or like just a nicer Red Bull. I'm not a fan of Red Bull, but this is really nice. It just tastes like an energy drink. So maybe that's what Harry Clark can replace his monsters with, but that's really nice. And then Hydroflow, the berry flavour, is my favourite out of the Hydroflows. So one of those two there. Now, in terms of hydration formulas as well, another shameless plug, Rise and Shine can technically be considered as a hydration formula. It's just on steroids is better. You don't actually, if you take it, you're not natty. But pretty much hydration and focus and a little bit of energy as well. That's what Rise and Shine is. So I had someone actually ask that for the Q&A. It was along with the 9 to 5 thing. He said, tips for people who work to 9 to 5, when to have Rise and Shine. I was like, that just doesn't go together, so I'm not going to put that in the question. But yeah, Rise and Shine, I would have that first thing in the morning for the guy that's asked this. Have it first thing in the morning. Obviously, if you've slept, hopefully for say 8 hours at least, and you're not really drank any water throughout the night at all, you're waking up and you're in an extremely dehydrated kind of state. Get yourself hydrated first of all by having some form of hydration formula along with, like, say, at least a litre of water within your first hour of waking up. And again, Rise and Shine has nootropics in it. It also has a little bit of slow releasing caffeine, and it has its hydration formula panel, so it's the best of pretty much everything and makes you feel a lot more productive in the mornings. So if anyone's wondering what Rise and Shine is and when to take it, that's that. Question number 16, how stacked was the junior class at the NBW show? So this is asked from the person who placed 4th at said show. So it was a hugely stacked class. If you don't win a class, you need to say, boom, it was the most stacked thing ever. No, not at all. That's just what the majority of people in the fitness industry say, because this person, Joe, actually looked wicked, really, really good, and still came 4th. It was wild. The standard at the NBW show as a whole, very, very good. There was I think it was like the men's medium bodybuilding or the short bodybuilding. I don't know how they split it up on the day, but one of the classes was just ridiculous. There was people that looked insane, very, very sharp, and didn't even break into the top 5. There was a guy that looked as if he's been on gear for about 20 years because he was absolutely massive, and he still didn't even win it, and he was still in good condition. So yeah, it was a very, very high standard of a show. And Joe won a PCA show, juniors, literally like 2 weeks before it or something. So it goes to show you, and then he goes into a natural show like that with a high standard and comes fourth. Like, there's some ridiculous natural physiques out there, so it was very good. I will give you that. Question number 17, dream car. So if we're going realistic dream car, which I think I can have within the next few years, I think a G82 M4. So by the time I'll be able to get insured in one when it's not stupidly expensive, I reckon they'll be like 30-40 grand, because they're already coming down like sub 50, I think, and that'll be very much affordable at the time. Obviously with coaching, with continuing to progress on that. Unrealistic dream car, I've never even thought about it that much, to be honest, because I've never really thought about it. I couldn't even tell you, to be honest. Like, if we're going like stupidly expensive, like a Porsche 918 Spider. If we're going a teeny bit more realistic, maybe like a Hurricane Evo, something along the lines of that. I don't know, or an Aventador SVJ would be sick. I actually prefer an Aventador SV without the J, just a cleaner look, and I was like a kid at the time when they came out. So yeah, that's that. Really hard to think about. Audi RS6 as well. That's a car I will own one day. I really want one. Question number 18, how to approach and implement off-plan meals in a gaining phase. So as you transition into a gaining phase coming out of a diet, the way that I like to run it is one off-plan meal per week, and that's what I usually do for the rest of the gaining phase anyway. But with that one off-plan meal, like as you come out of the diet and you're not looking to gain loads of weight at the one time, then I would pull back carbohydrates and fats on that day. So the way that I run it with my clients, if they're having 4 meals per day, let's say the off-plan meal is their final meal. Let's say they train and their pre-workout meal is meal 2, post-workout meal is meal 3. That very first meal in the morning, I'd say to them, just have a protein serving. There doesn't need to be any direct carbohydrate source. Pre-workout, still have the same exact pre-workout meal you'd always have to give yourself the same runway for progression for the session that you're going to have. Then for your third meal, your post-workout meal, just have again a protein serving, no carbohydrates. At that point, let's say you're going to have 100 to 200 grams of carbs in that post-workout meal if you're already pushing your food back up again. So you're pulling away a good amount of carbohydrates, and realistically you're not going to have many fats post-workout anyway, so you can't really pull much away from that. That first meal, you don't need to have a direct fat source either, but it means you pull away a good amount of calories. And then be sensible with off-plan meal. Don't go on a full-on binge episode and eat 5,000 calories. Go have 1,500 to 2,000 calories. That gets yourself a burger and a small fries, or a burger and a medium fries even, from Five Guys. That gets you Neapolitan pizza, maybe a little bit of ice cream as well. You can still have a great meal with 1,500 to 2,000 calories. This is the way that I can manage the post-prep as well. Now that I'm deeper into an off-season, into a gaining phase, and if anything I'd quite like to gain weight from the off-plan meal, I just eat my usual meals and then have it as my final meal. I would have it on a training day that's also followed by another training day, so that on that day where you actually have it as your final meal, it helps you recover more from the session that you've just trained. And then the day after that, it means you've got more fuel and more energy going into the session. You've got more behind you. Question number 19, how many calories do I eat per day? So at the moment I'm on 4,250 calories I think on a training day. Couldn't tell you what non-training day is. I know roughly the macros of both of them. So I've got 205 grams of protein on a training day, 700 grams of carbohydrates, and I think 65 to 70 grams of fat. Because I just eat my meal plan, I couldn't tell you exactly what it's at the moment, because it changes, or it's not changes, it's changed a few times in the past like month or so, so I can't remember exactly what it's on. Non-training day, 205 grams of protein, 500 grams of carbs, and 75 to 80 grams of fat. So you can work out how many calories that is on a non-training day if you'd like, but I think 4,200 on a training day. Appetite's starting to get a bit meh, but it is what it is. Now, this is the real important question. Number 20, who would win, a bear or Josh G Fit? As I said at the start, Josh G Fit, 100%. Yeah, we duck and then boom, snap hook right in the face. Bro's gone. Holy shit, I'm having to record this again. I shouldn't have recorded in 4K 60 frames because it's eating up my iPhone storage, but this is the most speedrun last few questions you've ever had. So cardio, again, it's going to be very individual, so don't try to compare mine to yours. What are the glasses for? I've already mentioned that, I've already covered that. And when will we see Josh C fat? I'm 78 kg just now, 3 kg above the heaviest I've ever been in my life. Going to push to 200 pounds this off season. So I'll most definitely be Josh C fat by then. At that point, I'll be very strong, and very fat. That will be in about a year and a half before the pre-prep diet. So a lot of time gaining for myself, not competing again until 2026. I want to be a pro natural bodybuilder within the WNBF and be pretty much far improved version of what I was there. I want to look like a different human being, and that's not going to happen with a year-long off-season. That's going to be 2 or 3 years like I'm doing. So yeah, that's that. Now, let me know if you have enjoyed this video. This is the part that's not recorded about 7 times now. Let me know if you've enjoyed this video, if you enjoy this style of video, the Q&A. I'm thinking about doing some sort of like educational stuff, like top 5 things to help grow as a natural bodybuilder, top 5 training tips, top 5 things to expect competing as a first timer, tips and tricks to help you with your bodybuilding prep, so on and so forth. So let me know if you're thinking that sounds cool. If you think that would actually be helpful to you or not, like, please do let me know. But you're going to be getting weekly videos as always. I've got the Q&A for this week. For the video that's coming out as well, just before this, you probably have seen it. There's a pull session, pulling 200 kg off the floor, training at JP's gym, which I mentioned earlier, and then doing a full day of eating / day in the life, like every week as well. So pretty much like 1 week we'll have a professionally recorded and edited session, and then the next week will be a full day of eating / day in the life, and then next week again another full session. So it's going to be that, and then I might throw in some of these educational videos too. So let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's about the 7th time again saying this, but have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching it. Good night. It's an hour and 5 10 minutes, hour and 5 minutes, hour and 10 minutes past my bedtime, so I'm going to go to sleep, and goodbye.